and welcome to this week's Children's Church. The theme for today is all about faith and promises. We're going to start off with a brand new song and it's called Faith. But some of the actions in the song, they're very easy to follow, but some of them show the letters that spell out the word faith. So the first letter you're going to do is an F, and the way you do an F is you put your arm up, bend your hand and put that there like that. So it looks like an F shape, like a capital F. So we go F and then we go into A. So for A, we're just putting our fingers there like that. So we go F, A, and then I, straight up. So F, A, I, T, put your hand over the top to make a capital letter T. So let's go through F, A, I, T, and the last one is H. So you bend your arm over like that, bend your hand over and have it standing up so you can see like the H shape. So let's have a go at all those letters, shall we? F, A, I, T, H. There's some other actions for you to do as well, but just follow me. It's a really good, fun song, so have lots of fun, and I hope you enjoy it.
Got a mountain, it's in your way. You wanna move it wants to stay. You need the power that comes from F-A-I-T-H. We're talking sickness, poverty. Any problem has got to flee. With the power that comes from F-A-I-T-H. Alright, help me out. Give me an F. A-I-T-H. Give me an F. Come on, I-T-H. You need the power that comes from it will always work for you. The blood of Jesus guarantees it's true. We're talking power that comes from F-A-I-T-H. Yeah, give me an F. A-I-T-H. Come on, give me an F. You need the power that comes from F-A-I-T-H. Got a mountain, it's in your way. You wanna move it, but it wants to stay. You need the power that comes from F-A-I-T-H. Alright, come on, let me hear you. Give me an F. A-I-T-H. Come on, give me an F. I said A. Come on, I-T-H. You need the power that comes from F-A-I-T-H. You need the power that comes from F-A-I-T-H. Oh yeah. You need the power that comes from F-A-I-T-H. You need the power that comes from F-A-I-T-H.
Did you enjoy that song? I did. I think it's going to be one of my favourites. And over the next few weeks, we've got some new songs for you. So we'll have one each week, which is going to be really good. Now I'm going to hand over to Theo, and Theo is going to read the story for us today, all about a special man from the Bible in the Old Testament, a man called Abraham. Now, Abraham was quite an old man, but God made Abraham some promises. And Abraham had to have faith and trust that God would keep his promises. Let's hear all about it, shall we, in today's story. Thanks, Theo.
God's friend. Abraham was rich. He had lots of servants to do his work for him. He had lots of camels and sheep. He lived in a very nice place called Haran. One day God spoke to Abraham. I want you to leave Haran, he said, because I have a better place for you to live in. Now, Abraham might have said something like, where, or how far, or thank you very much, but I'm quite happy here. But he didn't. In fact, he said nothing at all. He just gathered up his wife and his servants and camels and sheep, and they went where God led them. Why? Because Abraham trusted God, and it was as simple as that. Canaan was the name of the place where God led Abraham, and a very nice place it was. A land flowing with milk and honey is what some people called it, which means that there were many cows and goats and bees there, and plenty of flowers and grass for the animals to eat. It was altogether a pretty place, and Abraham liked it very much. The only problem was that Abraham had no children, and besides that, both he and his wife Sarah were very old, grandpa and grandma old, and even older than that, but Abraham trusted God. So one night God said to him, Abraham, look up, do you see the stars? One day you will have so many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren that counting the stars will be an easier job compared to counting them. Now, Abraham, look down. Do you see the ground? One day there will be more members of your family than there are bits of earth on that ground. What did Abraham do? He chuckled. That's what. He giggled, he chortled, he laughed. Me and my wife have children, he cackled. We're much too old for that. But God wasn't joking. You will indeed have a son, he said, and through your family I will do something wonderful for the world. So Abraham trusted God, and it wasn't long before God sent 3 messengers to visit him. Abraham was very kind to them. He washed their feet, which was the polite thing to do in those days, and then he served them fresh baked bread and a creamy beef stew. It was delicious, and the visitors were patting their tummies and wiping their mouths. He said, we will be back next year. When we will return, Sarah will give birth to a son. Someone giggled, someone chuckled, someone laughed, but it wasn't Abraham this time, it was Sarah, who had been listening in the tent nearby. And next year, when God's promise came true, the baby was born. There was laughter again, so much laughter in fact that laughter was what they decided to call their son. For that is what Isaac means.
What an amazing story that is. I wonder, do you make promises? Who do you make promises to? And more importantly, do you keep your promises? Well, from our story, we could see that God kept his promises to Abraham. But Abraham had to play his part. Abraham had to have faith. And faith is like trusting something that you can't see. He was a fantastic man of faith, right from the earliest part of the Bible. I'm going to hand over to Sam as she leads us in a simple craft to help us to remember the importance of God's promises to Abraham. Thanks, Sam.
Hi everyone, today we're going to do a picture of the Starry Night, God's promise to Abraham. To start with, we need black paper, green, white. I've got some sticky stars, but if you haven't got sticky stars, coloured pens will still do the trick. But you'll have to use more of a blue paper than a black if you're using pens, so you can see that your stars that you draw on. So to start with, I've drew Abraham to save time. So if you, on your white paper, if you can draw Abraham, mine looks a bit similar to that, and I've cut him out and coloured him in. So to make the picture, on the green, if we draw I'll just do it, you know, so you can see, like a hill shape, which is like that. And then we're going to cut that out. And you should end up with a shape that's similar to that. So now, the next part that we do is I'm going to glue the green onto the black paper. I'll show you in a minute what it will look like. So that's what your black paper will look like with your green, which is your L. So next, the picture of Abraham that you've drawn and coloured in and cut out can be glued onto your picture. I've placed him there on the L, if you can see that. So next, with a felt tip pen, on what's left of the hill, I'm going to write the word God's promise to Abraham. So your picture will begin to look like that. You can all see that. So now comes the fun bit. With your sticky stars, if you've got your sticky stars. If not, you can just draw stars. But like I say, instead of having black paper, you will need a lighter blue. Is that you just stick the stars all over your paper. I've got all different coloured ones. There's no real amount that you've got to put on. The more the better, probably. There we are. So I've just put stars all over my picture. You can put out as many or as few as you want. And that's your picture of the Starry Night.
That craft looks fantastic, and it's a really good reminder when you look up at the stars. It's a reminder that God's made lots of promises to us too. The promises that he will never leave us. He will always be there, and we will be with him forever. Which sounds like an incredibly long time, doesn't it? I'm going to hand over to Lucy, who is going to start with our prayer for this week. Thanks, Lucy.
Dear God, thank you for the wonderful example of life lived by faith and obedience that we find in Abraham. Help us to have faith in you and obey you when you call. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
What a beautiful prayer read for us beautifully by Lucy. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that's contributed to today's Children's Church. I hope you've had fun and hope you've enjoyed making the craft. This week, just remember that promises, if you make promises, you must keep them. And also remember that God is with you because he made you that promise all the time. Have a really good week. Stay safe and we'll see you next time for another Children's Church. Bye.